Hi all, this is the Cognizant Manlet reporting. I hope all my fellow Cognizant Manlets are waking up and really reconsidering where they stand in life. And if you're cognizant, you'll know what I mean by that. I wanted to touch on the whole controversies of both the Tinder height filter scenario and the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad. Now, I know I'm pretty late. I'm like probably more than with the Tinder height filters, probably like 6 months late or something. And with the Sydney Sweeney, because that came out in May 2025, and the Sydney Sweeney ad was around August 2025. But what I want to touch on was the hypocrisy, how the same people who got very offended over the Sydney Sweeney ad and were crying how it promotes eugenics and toxic beauty standards for women, white supremacy, blah, 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 blah. These were the same progressive types, whether they were feminists or just, your usual progressive leftists. These were the same types that were justifying the Tinder height filters. When men, in particularly short men, were rightfully criticising it, and even other men who weren't short were kind of pointing out female superficiality and shallowness. These were the same women, okay, not even necessarily women, but the same progressive, feminist, normie types who were gaslighting us and telling us, it's not eugenics, it's just preferences, you're not entitled to a woman, women want to feel safe, and these Tinder height filters will help us find the right man, the right tall man to keep us safe, and yada yada. It's just natural selection. Women wanting tall men is an evolutionary trait. Nothing to get butthurt about, little guys. I saw comments like that on all sorts of platforms. But then a couple of months after, the Sydney Sweeney ad broke out, and the controversy broke out with the Sydney Sweeney ad a few months after. And these were the same people who were extremely offended and up in arms, causing the uproar, were the same progressive feminist normie types who were justifying the Tinder height filters. Now, I don't care who women select. I've already made videos saying that I'm fine with women selecting tall men, because tall men are better protectors. They are physically built for protection. And, short men aren't entitled. But the main thing I dislike and I'm really critical of is the double standards. What's good for the goose should be good for the gander. You can't be promoting eugenics or whatever, one thing. This doesn't apply to just the dating scene or to these two scenarios. It can apply to anything in life. So, you can't be promoting one thing and justifying one thing, but then, when it benefits you, but then being against it when it doesn't benefit you or when you feel targeted. It's just blatant hypocrisy. But anyway, I'm glad they have made the whole Tinder height filters because, again, I think it's a wake-up call for short men, and it just proves, that women do want tall height. I'm tired of short men being gaslighted by women and other men, that it's our personalities and it's our mindsets and our attitudes. No, it's not. And like I said, I want women to feel absolutely confident and safe, that knowing that they can select any man they want. No one's entitled. And I'll keep saying that. I'm not entitled. Short men in general aren't entitled. No one's entitled in this life. But all I ask is just don't be a hypocrite. Don't be a gaslighting, silencing hypocrite who, again, promotes an idea, in this case, eugenics or selection based on a certain trait or criterion, but then, you're going to be severely against it now when it doesn't meet the standards or the expectations of what you personally think. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I hope I'm making sense. I'm always going to be saying that in my videos. I hope I'm making sense. Because if I'm not, leave a comment and I'll happily explain it in words. I'm better at writing than talking. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. These progressive feminist normies are just hypocrites. That's pretty much my main point. They're going to justify and promote the Tinder height filters to filter out short men or anyone who's under 183 centimeters. I mean, it's literally right there. You cannot be gaslighting short men anymore that it's not our height that matters. But yeah, the same people justifying that then getting the shits over a stupid ad talking about genes. Progressive complaining about eugenics, even though they promote eugenics themselves. And feminists talking about toxic beauty standards, even though they promote toxic beauty standards themselves for men. Same women and same normies in general, because men were involved in this too, progressives. Same people justifying the Tinder height filters, but then they're getting mad over the stupid American Eagle ad with Sydney Sweeney. But anyway, yeah, I really hope short men really take this into consideration and wake up. And all I ask for is just for normies, and especially women, is just to stop gaslighting us. Tall height matters, and that's fine. I don't think we should be bitter and angry over it or entitled. And I've made videos about this already. Again, it's just honesty. Tell the truth. Just be honest. That's the key. Honesty is the best policy. I think it will save many men and just many people in general. I think we'd live in a better place if people were just more honest. All right. That's it for me. Mail it out.